the medical industry has always been such a big thing for me, but I think we have such a big advantage when it comes to aesthetics because we get to actually make them feel like someone special. And I think it's not only from a touch perspective. Obviously, when you're touching someone, there is that connection, there is that welcoming warmth that you offer, but I think it's that interaction that you get to give them.
Absolutely. So I want to encourage everyone to, your office staff and your front staff is extremely important, and making sure that your team is aligned with the vision, and that is that we want to make people feel welcome.
I so often hear people say that our industry is like so competitive and there isn't a space and I can't have a piece of the pie, but I think stacking these treatments and obviously creating those custom offerings is really what will set you apart, not only from an outcome perspective but obviously from a value perspective. What sets you apart from the person next door?
But globally there's such a big shift, and we found that the South African market is actually quite behind. The South African market does things, I would say, a little bit differently, and hopefully by the end of today you would have a little bit more clarity, and our listeners would have clarity on where they're going, what they're doing, what they can change to just align. The next thing that I believe it's up and coming, and it's something that we need to keep an eye on in the aesthetic industry, is AI.
Yes. While we're on AI, Cleo, will AI ever replace us? Welcome back to another episode. My name is Sune.
And I'm Cleo.
And this is the Aesthetic Perspective. Guys, we are so excited to be back.
It's been a minute. It's really been a minute, but we are back. We've had so many people contacting us asking, are you actually still going to do the podcast? Is it still on? The answer is yes, we are.
We are back in full action.
Yes.
I think we have been working like at the back, and we can't wait for this year with each and every one of you. I think our product this year is going to be next level. Our knowledge that we're sharing is next level. Our content will be next level. So we are so excited to be back in action.
I think it's been difficult to balance everything. And I know that one of the biggest things is we love transparency. And obviously the podcast is something that we started. We did not believe that it's going to be such a success so soon, and people are actually going to love it the way they do. So you asked and we definitely listened. We will continue to obviously do the podcast, and I just want to check in with you, Sune, because you've been all over, you've been everywhere, you've been traveling. How are you and how have you been?
Guys, I think it's just been so magical. Obviously, Cleo, you've been traveling alongside me, and I think that's been the best part of it all. Being able to share in those experiences and then being able to share it with you as our listeners. I think it's something that we're both passionate about, not keeping any experience to ourselves and just putting it out there. I have been doing really well. I think traveling makes you happy on a new level. I think now it's all about settling back in, finding rhythm, finding our feet, getting back into things. How have you been?
I've been good, thank you. I think the most important thing would be that we've gained very, I would say, valuable knowledge. I think it's very valuable what we've learned in the last 3 months. When we go internationally, it's usually what I bring back is more than just knowledge. It's actually inspiration as well. Yes. And that I'm very excited to share with everyone. And on that note, I want us to, in this episode, I think one of our biggest goals would be to kind of just share that knowledge, share what we've learned, say where we're going, and how far we actually are behind in this industry, and just putting it out there from the beginning. But globally, there's such a big shift, and we found that the South African market is actually quite behind. The South African market does things, I would say, a little bit differently, and hopefully by the end of today, you would have a little bit more clarity, and our listeners would have clarity on where they're going, what they're doing, what they can change to just align.
Absolutely. I think it's so valuable that we keep learning, keep growing. And on that note, Cleo, let's start this journey today at IMCAS. So obviously it was my first IMCAS participation this year. I have to admit it was so amazing being able to attend lectures, being able to experience the life that they actually offer. And of course, being able to sit next to the Eiffel Tower with my best friend. I don't think there's anything more special. But kick us off off with MCAS?
What stood out for me from MCAS, I've been there before. I was there 2 years ago. And the shift that happened just within those 2 years was significant. It was big. The first few lectures that we attended was all about AI, which is big.
It's so exciting.
It was all about, and that I saw last time, but it was all about social media. It was all about the consumer market, the patient behavior that's changing, what's actually happening with the consumers, because there's really a big shift. Education-wise, I would say people are getting a lot more, I want to almost say they're making their own decisions, and sales reps are almost falling, they're taking the back end, because people are a lot more educated, even the clinics, even we know what we're doing because of all of these platforms that we have. So I think one of the biggest things that I want to tackle from the beginning is that aesthetics is a lifestyle that patients and consumers are taking on. Aesthetics is not anymore a one-time treatment to kind of go in, I want to look good for Friday night or for my birthday, and then I go out. Aesthetics has become part of who we are. The wellness industry, you can speak to any woman and she's going to tell you that my therapist is here. This is my therapist. I use this skincare. And it's a market that we can tap into because it's ever growing.
Absolutely.
So I think that would be one of the first things. For me, it's a lifestyle, and we need to tap into that.
Absolutely. I think being able to experience the fact that coming from a therapy background, the importance of creating that journey, that expectation to your client, and really being able to take hands with them and establishing that journey. I think it's so refreshing that the consumer is also adapting that vision for themselves. I think with education from a broader perspective, not only what we get to put in the industry or back to our consumer, but the freedom of exploring and being able to research on your own, it's really giving them that open mind to a journey. And I think that shift is really what is valuable to us as therapists, us as the doctors in the industry. So we know that the way we position our treatments, our offerings, the way we're treating them in clinic, not only from a therapy perspective, but of course from a hospitality perspective, we really get to give them that full package experience. And it's so exciting that internationally, that's also how they position.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better. I believe that we don't pay too much attention in detail in clinics. Yes. That's one of the biggest things that I want to bring back.
Absolutely.
Your receptionist, from your receptionist to the way your products are packaged to the treatment. We attended a lecture. Obviously, we were, but we attended a lecture where he spoke about it's just that instant connection when you help someone that needs help. There's nothing short-term in there for you. Someone ran into his clinic. She needed help with direction, and she wasn't actually a patient, but he quickly assisted her. The receptionist assisted her with Google Maps or getting her to a location. And at the end of the day, they built such a strong connection just by capitalizing on that connection or that interaction. Yes, that she actually ended up bringing her whole clinic or her whole family to their clinic, and they are still patients after 10 years. And I think we don't pay enough attention to how you make someone feel in the moment, because it's got such an effect long term.
Absolutely.
So I want to encourage everyone to, your office staff and your front staff is extremely important, and making sure that your team is aligned with the vision, and that is that we want to make people feel welcome.
Absolutely. I think I've always said this, the medical industry has always been such a big thing for me, but I think we have such a big advantage when it comes to aesthetics, because we get to actually make them feel like someone special. Exactly. And I think it's not only from a touch perspective. Obviously, when you're touching someone, there is that connection, there is that welcoming warmth that you offer, but I think it's that interaction that you get to give them to make them feel seen, make them feel beautiful, because I think so often we are so result driven in aesthetics that we forget to take care of the human aspect of it. And they really reiterated the importance of establishing that warm, loving interaction from the get-go. And I think we kind of briefly spoke about it in some of our previous episodes, how important your first interaction in that clinic is. I mean, if we're creating this space on social media, on our Instagram pages of how fun the clinic is and how much we love each other, but when someone's feet hits your clinic, it's cold, it's sad, it's like all over the show, then automatically they feed off of that energy. And I think that's our advantage, is just to shift that and to really make them feel loved and warm in that moment.
I think that brings me to the next thing that I learned, and that was how we're using social media.
Yes.
You mentioned it now, but it was something like, if you are not on social media as a business, you lose 56% of your business.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
And that is significant, because that just shows us that, once again, the end users, the first thing they see is your social media, and that can make or break you.
Yes.
So from a social media perspective, what do you find was most valuable for you to bring back?
I think it was definitely, obviously, like actually capitalizing it as a resource in your business, and not only as a generic something you post or a special platform where you're only posting your promotions of the month. I think it's really important that you add some human to it. I think we have so many amazing creative minds in the industry, and really capitalizing on those personalities, because I think you have someone in your clinic that you hired based on your feel towards them, or your experience that you have with them on an intimate level, if I can say that. And I think really capitalizing on that, because that's also how people fall in love with your clinic, based on your therapist, on your receptionist. And I think each person has such a big value on social media as well, because we're creating that almost like familiar feel when they actually walk into the clinic, because they've seen your faces on social media, they've seen a cute video to kind of get a look into who you are as a person. And I think just bringing that humanity back into social media, instead of making it just a generic posting platform, if 100. I can call it that.
That actually links to what Malika said in our life space episode.
Yes.
It's that, and that's why the holistic thing is so important. It doesn't help you're spending so much money on your social media, but then you walk in, the client walks in, and they are super disappointed because your receptionist is rude. Your therapist is also the receptionist.
Yes.
So I think just from a holistic point, the next thing that I believe it's up and coming, and it's something that we need to keep an eye on in the aesthetic industry, is AI.
Yes. While we're on AI, Cleo, will AI ever replace us?
Never. Never. Exactly what you're saying, because of that human aspect. So we've got an advantage, but how are we going to incorporate AI into our practices? And it was very cool, because what I saw was that it's a tool.
Absolutely.
It's a tool for your consultation process to be easier. It's a tool for your skin analysis consultation, or your skin analysis process to basically just be better. AI is an absolute tool for your admin to be easier. I believe that if you use AI correctly in your clinic, it's just going to enhance everything else.
Absolutely.
I don't think that you'll never be able to take that human touch, that personalization away from us as therapists, as doctors, as aesthetic clinics. But I think you'll fall behind if you don't incorporate AI.
Absolutely.
in your systems.
It will definitely give you an advantage from a system or process perspective, making sure that you're analyzing your data correctly without being too time consuming. I mean, using AI as part of your social media plan, using AI to help with idea generation. And just creative wise, it can also be such a handy tool. But I think from a business efficacy perspective, such an amazing part of it. One of the lectures obviously we attended, it was so interesting to see how they incorporate their website and bookings and almost like a AI chat box to really almost indicate where you fit into the clinic perspective. And I think if we're using it that way, instead of having the fear of incorporating new technology, really capitalizing on that, we will all see a drastic revolution within our own business and systems.
What stood out for me on that lecture was that it also gives patients the opportunity to be more educated.
Absolutely.
And it backs us as a clinic, because what they did was, in the system, you've got the patient can go onto the portal or onto the website. They know that they've got a treatment coming up. They can literally have a video in 5 minutes of the doctor explaining the whole process. They know what to expect. It's just that hand-holding process that AI can also eliminate a little bit for us, which I really enjoyed, because that's not a way that I thought about it. So once again, the consultation process, it just makes sense.
Absolutely.
It just makes sense.
Absolutely.
When I look at one of the biggest things that I believe we brought back, and what I will continue to focus on, being in sales, I think it's difficult to, I want to almost say, something to someone or take hands with someone, partner with someone, if they don't actually understand technology.
Yes.
And one of the biggest things that I learned was that if you're educated, no one has to sell you anything. And this will be for our clinic owners who are currently looking at technologies, things like that. If you understand technology, if you understand the laser basics, if you understand how energy-based devices works, you don't need a sales rep, because you'll be able to choose the right technology according to your demographic, according to what patients you see, the indications you see the most, the indications that you have the need for the most. And when we do that, we don't need companies to come to us and tell us, you need this kind of technology.
Exactly, because you already have that background to understand exactly how technology will actually elevate your outcomes.
Exactly. When you spending this amount of money on equipment, capital equipment specifically, the salesperson obviously sold you this device, so there's a lot of promises that goes along with that.
Absolutely.
But if you don't understand your markets and you don't understand your patients, then that $1 million technology might not work in your clinic.
Yes.
Because you need to do your research before. And that's why I want to encourage everyone to kind of understand what you're buying, understand technology, go for additional courses. Education is something that can never be taken away from you.
Yes.
And when you understand that I can choose my own device, because I can look at the science and I can say, yes, this makes sense, or no, this doesn't make sense.
I think it's so valuable positioning equipment in that manner from an educational perspective, like actually knowing your own laser basics, etc., even from a business perspective, because you know exactly how this technology will actually elevate your patients, instead of relying on these false promises to actually make the product or the equipment work in your clinic. So I think having that background, having a well-rounded approach when selecting your specific equipment, you're actually equipping yourself so much more and so much better than any salesperson could.
Exactly. It just makes sense.
It just makes sense.
It literally just makes sense.
Yes.
So like I asked myself, how can we test this? Like, how do you test this?
Yes.
And I would say that if you do not understand, you do not know what the absorption curve is, then you shouldn't look at lasers. You shouldn't be looking at lasers.
Some
it's
people are going to listen to this episode and be like, yes, I feel that.
Exactly. So you need to understand. If you understand, no one needs to sell you anything. And I think that brings us to the, I want to almost say, the last valuable thing that we brought back, and that would be that, and I think we've touched on this a little bit, but trust over technology.
Yes. I love that.
Trust, because once again, there's still a human aspect to this. Everyone has a heart. I recently learned that. Not learned that, but I recently was reminded of that. Everyone has a heart. And when you can connect to that human aspect. And it was interesting for me to see these kind of topics at congresses like IMCAS 2026, because people are almost like, it's like they're waking up to that human aspect that people have, that I have a heart and I actually want to help you. And
Yes.
maybe I don't have the best technology in my clinic, but this is what I have.
Yes.
This is what I can do.
And I'm going to do it the best way I can.
Transparency and vulnerability will bring you a lot further.
Yes.
Even in any industry, than having the best technology.
Absolutely. And I think that passion, there's so much we can get done when it comes to passion. You know, I feel when you really have that vision for your clinic and you are really there to uplift and to inspire, that passion automatically draws people towards you and your business. And I think that's something no one can ever take away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
On this, I've kind of thought, what is the 3 most valuable things that clinics and successful clinics internationally do from what I could bring back?
Yes.
And the first thing, and that's how I kind of want to, land this episode. I want to give people the tools to say what do these successful clinics do. And the first thing that I want to bring up is that they build systems, and systems that actually work. Efficient systems.
Yes.
And I want to ask you, like, what kind of systems have you seen that actually works in clinics? Like, and we touched on it a little bit once again, but from the receptionist to the doctor. But for me, what is your cross-referral system looking like? If you've got a doctor, how are you cross-referring? If you've got a therapist, what is the consultation process looking like? So maybe you can speak into that a little bit, because this is something that you are quite passionate about.
Yes, I think it's just establishing that flow, that natural flow of how patients actually function within a clinic. I think if your first introduction obviously fumbles a little bit, everything else will drop going from there. But I think if you have a process that actually flows naturally, the client will feel a lot more accepted in that space, because they won't feel confused or conflicted. Am I sitting on the right spot? Am I filling in the right form? Because those processes are seamlessly introduced already. So I think just establishing that natural flow in your clinic from point A interaction to the minute they walk out, creating that harmony in that journey for them. I think it's so important.
Love. love. I think we can spend a whole episode on that. The second thing, you can let me know if you agree, that I saw internationally is that combination treatments.
Oh, such a hot topic. I love this.
And I'm a very big fan of combination treatments, because I believe that you cannot treat just one chromophore. You want to get to point A. You want to get from point A to point B.
Yes.
Choose what you need to do to get there.
Yes.
And there's going to be different chromophores, different technologies. Work it into a plan. The time of us having a patient phoning in for one treatment and that's it, that's what we do, is kind of over, because it's now a plan, it's now a treatment. So combination treatment is a very big thing at this point. When we're looking at combination treatment, call it cool things, call it fun things, make it sound attractive. There's some new, we learned at our latest distributor meeting, but there is some new protocols that we specifically are launching. And I believe that combination treatments attracts people because it almost creates like a niche for your clinic. So maybe combination treatment is something we can tackle. What do you think about that?
I absolutely agree. I think that's really where custom offerings are born. And I think that's really what will set your clinic apart from the one next door. I so often hear people say that our industry is like so competitive and there isn't a space and I can't have a piece of the pie. But I think stacking these treatments and obviously creating those custom offerings is really what will set you apart, not only from an outcome perspective, but obviously from a value perspective. What sets you apart from the person next door? I think thinking about combination treatments and going forward, I think something that internationally is quite vivid is the actual creation of momentum from the get-go. Do you mind sharing a bit what your experience was, obviously from a clinic perspective, how they actually encourage that momentum from the get-go with their patients?
I would say that when we look at momentum, and when we're looking at combination treatments, I want to almost say that's where your consultation is extremely, extremely important. So when you look at the patient comes in, they do a treatment. That first treatment for me is extremely important because that's going to set the tone.
Yes.
The first treatment is going to establish, is it worth me spending another 4,000, another 5,000 every single month?
Yes.
So I would say creating momentum by giving them, firstly, I want to say a treatment as your entry-level treatment, or the entry level into your clinic needs to be something that actually gives them a really good result.
Absolutely.
I'm a big fan of IPL
Yes.
because IPL is something that you see instantly. If there's been some sun damage, I would love a protocol. I love protocols where we combine an IPL with a collagen stimulating topical skin booster, something like that. And you kind of you go at it with that because they can wake up the next morning, the next 7 to 10 days, they're going to be like, I got a really good result.
Yes.
So I would say, firstly, setting the expectation that what you do here works, or something that is a really good experience. So that's how I say we build momentum when it comes to your clients. I would also say be creative. Things like women's mornings, things like that, where you're actually educating the clients. That does really, really well. People are loving that because once again, it's not just a one-time treatment. It's now a lifestyle. They want to come to you with their friends on a Saturday morning and they want to learn about skin. They want to learn about all of this stuff. So I would say definitely find what works and what would build momentum for your clientele. But the treatment plan is extremely important.
Absolutely.
And the journey with that client. So what you can do head on first thing, if it can give them results, amazing, and incorporate something else than treatments.
Yes.
Women's mornings, I want to say educational sessions. Yes. People love that. And our end users are really, really enjoying that.
I absolutely love what you said about it's almost like creating an experience and not only an appointment. And I think that's also something where value to the clinic then comes effortlessly because you keep on creating that experience with a women's morning. So that trust expectation keeps on growing and growing and growing. And I think it's also how you retain your clients so much better because you're creating opportunity for networking for them. Like-minded ladies join in. I think it's such a beautiful thing to create a community, even if it's on such a small level, like at your own clinic. I don't think community has to be something that goes viral. I think if you have a group of friends at your clinic, give them the absolute best experience because that on its own will keep on returning into your business.
I love that. And I think we wanted to just summarize everything that we learned, obviously. And hopefully in this episode, what people can do, and hopefully we can inspire you to kind of go into a reactivation program in your clinic.
Yes.
To kind of rethink, how am I going to grow? What is my strategy for my clinic for 2026?
Yes.
How am I going to pull this through? And hearing things like this, education inspires me personally. Hearing testimonies of other clinics that changed their strategies and they were really, really successful.
Yes.
That inspires me. And I hope that during this episode that is something that we could do. What I do want to say is, and I want to kind of take us home with this, but the industry has shifted globally and the South African market needs to get on the train. Otherwise,
we have taken a back seat, and it's time that we actually step it up.
The days where we just focusing on price, those clinics will eventually fall behind because it's like value. It's all about value.
Yes,
and promoting your value, promoting the value that you bring. Why should we come to you?
Yes,
because you offer the full experience.
Exactly.
I think that it's important that the South African clinics and that the people in the aesthetic industry in the South African market really go and reevaluate what is my growth strategy for the rest of this year and how can I incorporate these things to make it a success, even if you just implement one or two.
Yes, I think it's such a good starting point. Even if you just take hospitality and focus for the next quarter on improving your hospitality, the way your clinic smells, the touch and feel, I think automatically you will see tremendous growth even just by taking one or two of these points.
So now, what are you going to do for the rest of this year with everything that you learned?
I have to admit, I'm also feeling really inspired. I think traveling abroad for me was quite eye-opening. It made me feel extremely small, and I think it opened my mind in a way where I want to approach a lot of things more creatively. I think there's so much beauty that we're actually missing out on. We do limit ourselves to our daily tasks almost, and I really want to incorporate a creative way to tackle them because it makes it more fun, it makes it interesting. And I think if we just in my day-to-day life, just thinking what else can I do to brighten up someone else's day, then I've achieved what I wanted this year. I think I'm in a very happy space because of what we've experienced and the knowledge. And I think it's just really dialing in on sharing that. I think me and you both are passionate about sharing what we've experienced. So I think that's definitely something to tackle this year.
I love that. And on that note, I think this was, definitely one of my favorite episodes.
It's been so much fun to
because
be
I
back.
kind of just inspired myself again just by hearing all of these things. I think I would love to incorporate this into my day-to-day trainings, into my day-to-day. I want to also inspire people. And I want to remember that everyone is human and everyone has a heart, and that we all ultimately have the same goal in mind, and that is to make people feel amazing in this industry.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that internationally we could learn that we are all here for the same thing. Cleo, it's been so good catching up with you. Guys, we are so happy to be back. We are so excited for what's coming. I think you guys can tell that we are inspired, we are creative, we are flowing, and we are just so excited to be back in full swing. And on that note, thank you for tuning into today's episode. We will catch you on the next one.
Bye, guys.